how I am with the whole 90-minute thing?
Yeah, people pad movies to get to 90 minutes.
This movie is horseshit.
Why?
We were in the credits 72 minutes into this movie. This is not a movie. This is a TV special.
Wouldn't you rather a 72-minute movie that's all good shots than padding it to make it up to 90?
Yeah, but that's not this movie either. This movie is not 72 minutes of good shots.
That's true.
I guess you're right, though. What am I complaining about? This is the meal was terrible in such small portions.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't pad anything. You cannot be mad. They did not pad this movie.
72 minutes? The fucking credits are rolling. I cannot believe this.
It felt longer than 72 minutes. I will tell you that.
The longest 72 minutes in history?
Holy shit, I think so.
Oh, my.
At least of my life.
I believe it. Welcome to Bad Movies and Beer. I'm Cooper.
And I'm Nolan.
And today we just watched a piece of shit called The Dungeonmaster.
Oh, is it called The Dungeonmaster?
Well, I don't know. Rage War has 2 titles. This is so confusing.
Yeah, this is really weird. This is one of those movies where the DVD case says one thing and then you get into the credits and it has a different name.
That's always interesting to me. A lot of times it has to do with movies being distributed in different markets. It'll have one title in one country, a different title in a different country. But with this, I just don't understand it. Like we were talking about this. Is there even a dungeon in this movie?
I don't think so. There's no point where they're locked into a dungeon. When I read it, I thought it was going to be related to some kind of like Dungeons and Dragons adventure or something, and they did some really poor LARPing.
I mean, he is on like a quest. It's definitely, I would classify this as a fantasy, this movie. It's not like it's not really sci-fi and it's not really horror.
It's some garbage fantasy movie, yes. You are
okay,
right.
so there's no dungeon. So we're like weird. And the title that we saw is called Rage War, which I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, I don't understand where the war part comes from.
Where's the rage come from? Who's enraged?
I mean, the character who you might assume is the dungeon master or the one who is enraged is some crazy wizard / Satan character.
Played by Bull from Night Court.
That makes it better, by the way.
Richard Mall.
I feel like that's more awesome. I wish I had realized during the movie that was Bull. But
you probably couldn't because he was wearing that wig. It's so strange.
I couldn't tell. He just looked like a very large, creepy Dracula.
Yeah, so we're going to talk through this movie like we always do, full of spoilers, and when we're done, we're going to rate it 1 to 10 for how bad it is. And I will tell you right now, for me, it's 10. You're
just locking in your rating right now.
This is the worst movie that we have watched. This is not a B movie. This is a fucking C movie.
Holy shit. He just locked in a 10 before we even started talking about the plot.
It's awful.
I'll save my rating till the end just so there's some suspense.
Well, the suspense will be the second part, which is how enjoyable it is.
Yeah, that's
of course, as always, the goal is to get a 10 out of 10 for both, giving us the Crit 20.
All right.
Which for me is in play because it was 10 out of 10 bad.
Yeah, well,
we'll have
that's
to wait
fair.
until the end and see. But first, let's talk about the beer that we are drinking today.
Beautiful.
It is called Rage and Love.
It's a dry hop sour by Rainhard Brewery in Toronto.
Yep, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Appropriate. It's called Rage War, and as we'll see, the main character is trying to save the love of his life. So we've got a little rage, we've got a little love. And for me, we have a beer that I'm looking forward to drinking because it's not an IPA or a double IPA. We got a dry hop sour.
As a sour man, I know this is going to be good for you. I also really enjoy sours, so I'm not at all disappointed that we're going to be drinking this today.
Let's give it a try.
I'm excited. I've never had a beer from Rainhard, so I'm looking forward to it. I just opened it and spilled it all over my notes, so hopefully that doesn't become an issue later, but I think we'll be good.
Off to a hot start.
Yes.
So let's talk about this movie, I guess. We open with, I would say he's a handsome man lying in a bed with some sort of sensors attached to his head, and there's a mysterious sort of red figure watching him. We eventually see that this is a lady in a red dress. He wakes up and sees her, then she leaves the room. He follows her. It's some kind of like a compound they're in.
Yeah, it's a little confusing. It seems like he's waking up attached to the sensors in like a military compound. She runs away and he gives chase.
Yeah, kind of, but it's like a slow-mo chase. And then she enters this sort of long hallway, this dark hallway. We get an immediate music change. Then the next time he sees her, she's in this room that's full of smoke. Smoky room.
It was
with
very
this strange
smoky,
opening in the background.
Yeah, there was like a weird crack in the wall. And what happens before she heads through that crack?
You know exactly what happens.
She shows us her crack.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, she just drops the dress she's wearing, full nude underneath, just a complete nudity.
Full nudity scene, and then she goes through this weird crack in the wall, and of course, like
when he follows her through there.
Yeah, how can he not follow her through? Yeah. What is on the other side of the wall?
There's a bed, and she's just lying on the bed.
Yeah, it was so weird. On the other side of this broken down wall is a bed, and then a weird, like, creepy looking door.
It's like a hatch. It's a hatch door.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of
like you'd see in a
something
submarine.
Out of Lost.
Yeah, or like a hatch in Lost.
It's like the Lost hatch and this weird bed where a naked woman lays down. And of course, the man who wakes up out of the sleeper coma, what does he do?
Well, he goes to lay down on top of her. He starts taking his clothes off, but then the hatch door opens, and in run these like 4 weird horned creatures who they backhand slap him away. They
One hand knock him out.
They pimp slap him away from this girl, and they take the girl into the hatch. And then
the credits roll.
We get rage war and an immediate confusion for both of us.
Both of us are like, "What's happening?" And then they go to have a series of 7 directors' names pop up.
Yeah. So this is. We'll get into the main story here. Essentially, this guy has to pursue this girl, and he has to go through these 7 challenges. And I guess they decided to get a different director for each challenge.
Yeah, this was really confusing to me. I didn't know whether the movie was sort of written as lots of little pieces and put together, or if it was written as one, and they sought out different people to do different pieces.
I mean, I guess that's what happened, but at the time, watching the credits is very confusing with these kind of like dynamic, slanted font credits. And yes, 7, they just kept naming directed by. We're like, what the f*** is going on here? We're so confused.
I was wondering if we had another sort of Spookies on our hand where it was like someone started and they ran over budget and switched to someone else. But it clear soon that wasn't the case.
I don't know, man. I could easily see 6 people quitting this movie, like starting it and being like, what the f*** is this?
Why did we get involved in this?
Yeah.
So does it ever explain who directs the stuff in between? I wasn't really clear on that.
I didn't catch that. That's a good question though, because there are some kind of in between scenes to give us some context. The guy from this strange fantasy wakes up. That's Paul. He throws on some giant glasses, and he is woken up actually by the sound of a female computer voice. Turns out he's at work. I guess he's just taking a fucking nap while he's at work.
Yeah.
Anyway, these glasses are like advanced technology, the kind you see now in like modern movies where someone puts the glasses on and it has like a computer readout and like they can,
he's clearly
things.
Like a computer genius here, right? Like he's way ahead of his time. He's somehow got his computer to interact with his glasses and it moves around with him.
Yeah.
And it shows him being amazing at his job as a computer repairman.
He immediately identifies the problem in this operating system, and it's going to be easy to fix. At this point, I'm assuming that we are pure sci-fi. This is a straight up sci-fi movie. And I actually I think I might have said this last week, that I thought the action in this was happening in the parameters of like a computer game, kind of like a Tron scenario.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
No, not even close.
Nope.
So he has his day at work, and then he starts heading out on a run, and then some weird stuff starts happening.
Yeah, as he's running, well, we figured out pretty quickly. First of all, I swear he activates what looks like an Apple Watch, like where basically
he's got the very first Apple Watch.
I guess so. He probably designed it himself.
Created it 35 years prior to the first Apple Watch.
But he's going to track his time on this run, and as he's running, he keeps touching the glasses, and we see like stoplights changing such that he never has to stop his run. He's coming up on a red light, he hits the glasses, all of a sudden the light turns green for him. Like cars are halfway through the intersection, they have to back up, but he can just keep right on running. So he's got the perfect jogging thing. Although he's trying to time this run, he stops to buy flowers.
Yeah, this is weird. And then he has no money, so he has to use his glasses to break into
hacks into an ATM.
Except we kind of learn later that he takes it out of his own bank account and overdraws it.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's not a bad guy. He is the hero here.
What?
Right?
Concerning that $20 overdraws his account.
Yeah, but you'd think he's so good at his job at fixing computers, or like he can create these future glasses. The guy should have some money.
Yeah, alleged tech whiz. You'd think, look at the technology he has. He should be a billionaire.
Yeah, it's slightly confusing. I did think that glasses thing was kind of clever, and I thought that
look how many movies use it now. Like this is a cool,
I felt like that was kind of neat. I was like, oh, this movie has some promise.
that promise is about to be thoroughly dashed, sir. As he's running, we also see the lady from the dream sequence exercising in an aerobic studio. Right, this is right out of the 80s, 1984 movie, and sure enough, this is like the let's get physical.
Yeah, it immediately took
giant
me
hair
to Olivia Newton-John. I was there.
The leg warmer kind of things. Yeah, man, it's great stuff. We find out this is actually his girlfriend. This is Gwen. Paul comes home. As he enters, the computer starts talking to him. Same voice from the glasses from earlier. That is the computer he has made and designed, Cal, which is short for Excalibrate.
The best computer ever.
XCALBR8. He comes home. Cal tells him his account is overdrawn. Gwen, this is the girl from the Notebook Studio, she shows up with groceries. Paul wants to get married. He wants to marry Gwen. And his reasoning for wanting to marry her is, I'm sure he's in love with her, but also he talked to the computer about it and ran the numbers, and Cal told him it all added up. So let's get married.
Cal's a very logical guy, right? He's like, it's time. And then he decides to try to convince her by also punching the numbers into the computer and showing her.
Well, but we find out very quickly that she is like kind of jealous and threatened by his relationship to this computer. Now, she offhand throws in a line about some experiment in the past he was a part of that linked him up to this computer. This is like a weird thing that she throws out there. We never hear about it again. I'm like, wait, what?
I missed that. That is weird. I didn't hear that part.
Throwaway line. I'm like, he was in some kind of like government experiment. Is that what this was? Like, what is this? They just breeze right past it.
Yeah, they don't explain any of that part. I found it funny, right? She didn't really want to compete with the computer, and then she says she's going to the bedroom because that's the only place where she doesn't have to share the computer with him.
Well, he can't have sex with a computer.
Now, I'm
or
wondering,
can he?
Is this pre-pornography? Because that would have ended a lot of
considering
uses,
the
right?
technology, he probably could have had porn pumped into those glasses.
Yeah.
What I love about this is she's threatened by the computer to try and convince her to marry him. He's like, let's go talk to the computer. Yeah. He's terrible
it's ridiculous,
at this.
Yeah.
He's terrible at this. He actually has to say the line to her.
Like, I'm not in love with my computer. I am in love with you.
Which, I mean, I think every woman does want to hear that. But, you know, do you have to say it?
I wrote that one down, too. That should be obvious. Yeah, I hope so.
So they go to bed, and while he's sleeping, his glasses suddenly show like a green flame.
Yeah, I think we're supposed to know that means wizard. That's all I can judge from it is there's some magical flame in his glasses and shit's about to go down.
Yeah, well, we get another dream sequence, or we think it's a dream sequence. Paul is wearing, I had a hard time describing this. It's like a foam cat suit.
It kind of looked like battle gear out of Star Trek The Next Generation. Some kind of weird like LARPing battle suit is what I kind of wrote it down as.
But no metal, no, anything that would actually provide protection. It's just a foam padded fabric.
Yeah, it just looks like padded fabric to look like he's ready to go into battle, but clearly he'd get slaughtered in a second.
He looks like a fucking ass clown is what he looks like. He does not look impressive. It's not an impressive look.
No, it's not. But yeah, I guess if your wizard's going to battle you, they want to put you in an embarrassing outfit.
I guess so. He's walking through this kind of landscape. I don't know. He sees Gwen underneath the waterfall, and he's calling her name, but she can't hear him. And then we start to get this weird kind of distortion effect, like a trick with the lens, and he's kind of holding his hand up to his head. Something's wrong. And then it seems like his skin like starts to boil almost.
Yeah, he starts to melt, and he starts trying to bang through this like surface that's actually kind of a cool effect that they have going on.
No, it isn't. Stop it.
Well, the surface seemed cool. When he bangs it is not, because it has that like cartoony, almost like Batman-y light
the old
flare.
Batman TV show. It's a cartoon explosion. But that's the weird thing about this is the skin boiling effect is like pretty good makeup work. It's pretty decent.
It's true.
And then he tries to punch through his force shield, and we're getting these cartoon explosions. And oh my god, the cartoony stuff just goes way up from there.
Is that just how good 1984 was, or that's just how bad the money or effects they had?
This is it's the low budget.
It's the low budget.
This is awful shit.
We get a lot of lasers coming up, and like they were pretty bad, but they're better than Moonraker.
Wow, hang on now. I'm not sure. I'm not prepared to commit to that. No, we watched Moonraker last week. I'm not
committing
sure.
to that. I think that the lasers in this are better than the lasers from Moonraker.
Well, I mean, there's really no winners in that fight. So Paul wakes up, and strangely, he has some blood coming from his mouth, and Gwen is gone. He goes to find Gwen, and as he's looking for her, he is transported to some sort of wasteland, and Gwen is chained to like a boulder.
Yeah, it's weird. He's kind of down in a pit. The ground there looks like it's been through sort of a lack of water for a really long time. It's got that sort of cracked earth look. And yeah, she's chained there in her regular clothes. And then who appears?
It's the wizard, Mistima. He appears, immediately changes Gwen's outfit he just shoots a little laser beam at her. It gives her new clothes.
This is weird.
And then he does the same thing to Paul, puts him back in that cat suit.
He gets his LARPing outfit back on, and she's in her like best sort of princess needs to be rescued suit.
Yeah. So essentially, the deal is this wizard has been searching for a worthy opponent for about 1,000 years now, or over 1,000 years, and he thinks Paul is that worthy opponent. So after transforming him back into his cat suit, he like knights him. He has him kneel down and he like knights him with a sword.
Yeah, it's really weird. He says, "You and your machines are the new magic, and you're gonna give me like my first challenge in forever."
He's gonna try and beat the machine. But the strange part is he knights him and he gives him a new name. He names him Excalibrate, which is the computer's name. So I don't know what's happening here.
Yeah, clearly he's more impressed with the computer than he is with Paul.
He should be. The computer is far more impressive than Paul. Paul doesn't do anything in this whole movie. There's a spoiler for you. The computer does everything for him. So speaking of which, he gets to use his machines. So he's got Cal is put in like the form of a wristband that he's wearing, and Cal immediately tells him this Mistima wizard, he's actually Satan. He's the devil.
Yeah. So we find out that he's actually has 7 challenges he's going to be put forth by Satan, and he has to solve them all.
Each one directed by a different person.
Yeah, and what I sort of started to figure out at this point is I think this is sort of the challenge put forth to prove to Gwen that he's ready to marry her. I've kind of interpreted this movie. Maybe Satan is actually Gwen's father.
It's all about getting his blessing?
Yeah, this is how I've started to interpret the movie. I was like, okay, I see this now.
See, that would actually have been clever if at the end of this, if the last scene in this movie had been them cutting back to like real life and her being like, I will marry you, but you have to ask my father, and like they go to see him, and it's Richard Mall from Night Court.
Yeah.
That would be great.
That's the scene
that would
that's
make
missing.
all the sense in the world.
I think they should refilm that somehow.
Well, Lord knows they have time. It's 72 minutes long. They could put that could be an 18-minute sequence at the end just to get us up to 90 and make this a respectable movie instead of the piece of shit that we just watched.
They could throw a couple Coopers in, and then that scene, maybe a scene from Night Court, and then
oh my god,
maybe they could get married in that courtroom.
Oh, maybe I can buy it. Sure, justice of the peace, that can probably happen, right?
Yeah.
So this wizard is going to challenge him. 7 challenges. He shoots a cartoon laser at Paul, and it transports him to the first one. Now, when I listed these off, I listed them off as like video game worlds. So, in like the Super Mario 3 and stuff, there's like whatever is the desert world. There's whatever.
You give it the title.
That's how. Yeah. So in my mind, the first place to go is the ice world, which is essentially just the world's shittiest wax museum. We have a bunch of frozen people and creatures. There's like a wolf man there, but there's also a bunch of like actual human. At one point he says it's all the criminals in the world. You see a statue of Jack the Ripper, Bloody Mary, which was that a real person?
No, that's that weird like children's story, right? I think.
Was that based on a real person? That might be based on an actual. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
But yeah, there's a werewolf statue. There's like a shogun, and Einstein is in there.
It's a really f***ed up sort of collection of people. Yeah. I don't know if they're making a political choice and who they choose there. Like, I think they're trying to say something when they have Einstein there.
Like because he helped develop the atomic bomb. He's
I guess so.
Monster.
That's got to be.
That's probably the only thing I can think of. I don't know. So it's cold. Gwen starts to freeze and Paul gets dropped down a hole. Gwen is complaining about how cold it is. She can't feel her hands. And Mistima offers to warm her up, raise the temperature. But when he does, all those frozen statues start unfreezing. And sure enough, they start attacking her as well as Paul. Paul makes his way back in there. So Jack the Ripper is going to slash Gwen's throat, but he takes forever to do it.
It looks like he slashes her throat once very poorly.
He had 10 minutes to slash her throat.
Yeah, I thought he did slash her throat, but not very well.
Nope.
No, it just never got a slash in.
Paul fights off the shogun with the Cal, the wristband can shoot lasers, so it shoots lasers. Get used to me saying Cal shoots lasers at whatever, because it happens 9 million times.
Most of the problems in this movie.
Basically, yes. Sure. So shoots the laser, which like electrocutes the shogun. Then Cal, again doing all the work, figures out that the way to escape this challenge is to find the crystal, the ice crystal, which is being held by Albert Einstein, who for some reason does not thaw out when everyone else thaws out. Maybe because he wasn't that bad.
So he grabs that crystal, he throws it, and everything fucking explodes.
Yep, we get a cartoon explosion with cartoon electricity.
So this happened a lot in this movie, and it was really problematic for me. I was like, why is every time someone throws or hits a crystal, it shoots a laser and there's explosions everywhere?
Magic, because magic.
Geologists would be way cooler if this was the case, right? Like everyone would love geologists. They would be
everyone would love geology. I'd be out there digging for laser crystals. Are you shitting me?
Then why is this the solution in this movie?
Well, here's a better question. Why does this whole scene take like 2 minutes? He's out of this challenge in no time. This is like, I guess it's the first one, so it should be the easiest, but some of these he's there for like 30 seconds.
I don't know.
Makes no
it's
sense.
true. And they brought in a whole director to give that 30 seconds. And how much did it cost to bring in the costuming for all those people? And I don't know.
All of this, despite being the most low budget movie we've watched, it still cost too much for what we got out of it. So he's done. The first challenge is passed.
It's over.
He comes back to sort of this wasteland where she's chained up, asks Mistima where she is. Mistima says, "Isn't love grand?" Laser blasts him again, sends him to the second place, which is I've called Death World. As soon as he gets there, it's kind of like a cave, but not really, kind of ominous. 2 old like knights try to attack him, but he hits them with his sword, which also causes cartoon explosions.
Yeah, they're kind of like zombie knights, right? They're kind of the undead. He starts chopping off limbs and heads, but every time he chops something off, it is a Batman like kaboom kind of
his sword explosion. Also causes explosions for some reason.
It's crazy.
It's an explosion sword. He sees this was tremendous, like a demon puppet sitting on top of a mound of something.
It's a rat.
His name is Rat Spit.
Yes. And there's some really bad puppetry here.
It's not great.
Why do we have all this horrible puppetry in horror movies that we've seen so far? It's such a weird thing.
I don't know. I think it's like you get the idea that it'll look cool. Then when you've already committed to it, you spent the money and designed it. And then when you go to like actually animate it, it looks shitty. You're like, we can't.
Have they hired puppeteers to do this? Do you think they're getting like real people to do a good job with this, or no? Like they're not getting Jim Henson
to do
Company
a good job
to make
no.
these. No, it's just like okay.
Yep, it's some guy. Yeah, I can make you a puppet. No problem. So
is that still a business, or animation
I don't
just
know.
got rid of that?
Maybe.
Now, I think.
Oh God, I hope so.
Yeah. I want to be I'll make you a puppet guy.
I bet you can do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Rat Spit tells him that in order to complete this challenge, he must confront death, which he thinks he does by attacking and defeating with lasers, of course, some dead creatures who try and attack him. But no, it turns out that the death he has to confront is his own death, his future death at the hands of Mistima, which he just immediately like zaps away. And when Ratspit is like, "How did you do that?" He's like, "Oh, that's not my death." He's like, "No, that's your destiny." He's like, No, it isn't.
Yeah, this was interesting. It happened way too quickly. It was really poorly acted and not dramatic.
All of this.
And then he throws down
I reject your reality and I substitute my own.
Yeah, man, because Mistima is like, this is what's going to happen. And he's just like, no, I reject that. And that's all. All you do is reject it. Second test, pass, just like that. We're back in the wasteland, and Mistima's getting a little bit handsy with Gwen, but not regular handsy. Back handsy.
It was really weird. He's running the back of his hand all up her body. He kind of like gives her an inner thigh and then a weird like backhand on her boob.
I don't know what you get out of that.
For either of them, nothing.
Well, she's getting nothing. It's making her uncomfortable. Maybe what he's getting out of it is making her uncomfortable, but like he's getting no sexual gratification from it. I can assure you of that.
And then one of the weirdest battles between the two kind of happens right here.
Well, yeah, she bites his hand and then he summons a cartoon dragon.
Yeah.
It's like a cartoon dragon. And then Paul also creates a cartoon dragon using the wristband, of course. Cal, let's be honest here. I'm not giving Paul credit.
Yeah.
Cal creates a cartoon dragon. And they kind of just like look at each other.
Yeah, you think they're going to battle or something, but nothing happens.
Mistima just like vanquishes them both.
It'd be too hard to animate them fighting.
It'd be too much money to animate them fighting.
I guess
and now this part is bizarre and can only be a way to transition to the next sort of challenge. Mistima asks Paul, "Do you fancy music? This is a piece of my own
composition."
Sure, whatever. Yes. So he makes it. It's not even music. It's like some weird like tones. And then Paul instead is like, "You call that music?" And he cranks up some rock on his like Cal wristband there.
Yeah, it was.
And the devil is like, "Oh, you like this noise? Like, what's happening here?"
And then we get transported.
This is a generational battle between like,
it was.
You kids and oh my God, man. Much. Yeah, we get transported to a concert by the band W.A.S.P.
Yeah, this was a big get for the people who made this movie, right?
Oh, dude, every write-up or anything I've seen about this movie is like featuring the band W.A.S.P. I was like, what? Yeah.
So, I mean, we're a little too young to be around this time, but I have no idea who W.A.S.P. is.
They were kind of a heavy metal band along the lines of like Motley Crue. 80s
So
popular.
It was a pretty big get for them to have them
At
in
the
here.
time, probably.
I
I
mean,
can assume.
During the scene, the acting of the lead singer was pretty good. Like, I was like, this is some of the best acting in this film.
He's playing a fucking lead singer of his own band. He's playing himself. It's great. Yeah, but so Paul has to fight through the crowd in this concert. It's basically a W.A.S.P. music video.
Yeah.
And he tries to get up on stage because Gwen is chained into a sort of box called the Tormentor. So Paul tries to get on stage. The guitar player basically lasers him off with this.
Yeah, this was awesome.
It's a laser.
His guitar has laser functioning, which was sweet. He just like hammers down on it and it shoots him right in the chest and he falls down. So that was awesome.
So Paul's gone, but he gets back up eventually, and they've got her in the Tormentor, and they're going to some sort of sacrifice. He's got a machete, but Cal solves all these problems. Paul doesn't do shit. Paul is just a human. If Cal could like had wheels and could get around, it wouldn't even need Paul.
Did Paul create Cal?
I don't know. Maybe the government did, and there's an experiment that fused them
connected it to
together.
him? Okay,
Whatever.
All right.
So anyway, Cal figures out that the way to stop this is by emitting a high frequency sound, which Paul is basically like, well, okay, and presses a button, and then it launches the sound. So Cal makes this plan, makes the sound. The high frequency sound causes the members of W.A.S.P. to just like disappear.
Yeah, they just start blipping out. You
They
see,
fade
like
out in lasers.
the poor man's Alice Cooper just goes out of sight.
So we're back to the wasteland. Mistima wants to talk.
We've got nothing to talk about.
Nonsense. We have arts, history, myths, love, hate, magic.
Yeah, well, I only talk about those things with people, Mistima.
Paul throws a lot of jabs at Mistima here that are like,
Really poorly
immature,
delivered and
yeah.
garbage. Yeah, and this is where Mistima decides to take a little bit of a different route with Gwen here. He says something like, you're wasting your tender youth and supple body on that immature boy.
yeah, why don't you hey girl, why don't you get with a man?
That's
Why are you
basically
wasting
what
your
he
time
said,
with that boy. This is so strange. She is obviously not super into this because he kidnapped them and is super f***ing weird.
I mean, anyone who calls your body supple has got to be out for some weird stuff, right? Like,
It's creepy.
you're not gonna let that
yeah,
happen.
I don't think that's a turn on.
I don't
for a lot
think
of
I'd
people.
ever describe someone's body as supple in an attempt to win them over.
No, my goodness. So the fourth challenge will be taking place in what I called rock world, not like rock music, like the fine tunes we just heard from W.A.S.P. This is a place of literal rocks, just rocks all over the place.
It looked like the set of the Planet of the Apes to me. I was like, we're
absolutely.
just going straight into that, or maybe an old Star Trek episode.
Yeah, and he's kind of passed out on the ground. Paul is. Two little people show up and they steal his wristband and kind of scurry off. And we get what is the worst chase scene ever.
I'm pretty sure this challenge is the worst out of all of them in terms of believability and special effects. It is awful.
It's also super short, which is its like redeeming quality. But as these little people are kind of running, they can't even run, but like they're kind of shuffling, scurrying. Paul can't catch them for some reason. He just can't catch them. They have like maybe a 10-second head start, but he could make up that ground in no time.
He's all disoriented, right? He's just waking up. He doesn't know why he's in the Planet of the Apes movies. He just can't figure it out.
It's a noble thing you're doing, trying to defend this movie and the writing and direction, but that's fine.
So we can't catch them.
Nope. They end up leaving his wristband. We see what is clearly a model of some kind of temple with like a statue of some sort of creature.
I don't know how they achieved this effect, but it was so poorly done.
Well, so they leave the wristband. He grabs the wristband and starts walking away. And as soon as this happens, Cal's like, uh-oh, something's going on. And the creature comes to life through the magic of claymation.
It was almost like they were filming inside of a shoebox. You know when you're told to make a project in school?
Like a diorama?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the movie set made a diorama of this very large statue shrine that these little people were sort of in awe with, and they deliver the computer to it. When Paul takes it, it starts coming to life and chasing Paul.
So this is really amazing that we have like low budget animation and we also have claymation in the same movie. This is great.
Yeah.
They're really
They're trying. Maybe
you're getting different looks.
Yeah.
Kind of. So this claymation stone creature has a jewel in the center of its forehead, and it shoots laser beams out of the jewel. Paul is trying to figure out what to do. While he's trying to figure out what to do, the little people are throwing rocks at him. He does an action hero roll and then shoots a laser at the jewel, hits it, and the statue crumbles, and that's it. The fourth test is passed, just like that. Most of that scene was him chasing the little people.
I mean, he hid behind that rock while that laser was shooting at him, and that little person was throwing rocks at his head for a while.
No, the little person throws one rock at him.
I think there was two.
He wasn't. Whatever, man. I'm not getting an argument about this. So at this point, Mistima, now trying a different tactic back in the wasteland, tries to get Paul to dump Gwen.
This is where I really think that Satan is Gwen's dad. Like, he's going all out right now to try to test this man to see if he's really right for his daughter.
Yeah, he tries to tempt him with wealth. You know, you'll have your own business. You can run whatever. No dice. Paul's not into it. Then he tries to tempt him with some hot ladies.
He throws 3 women at him, and for a second, Paul looks like he might be a little bit persuaded.
He does. We get the, oh God, this is so cliched and awful. We get the minute where he's kind of like smiling, like that dumb smile, and Gwen up there on the chain to the rocks is like, Paul.
Yeah, it was really bad.
So bad.
He gets a little bit hot and sweaty having those 3 women with way too much face makeup.
Oh my
all around
God,
him.
these 3 women are trying to like set the world record for the most rouge you've ever worn in your fucking life. It's unbelievable.
Their cheekbones were so defined by that makeup.
God
it was incredible.
damn.
I was like, holy shit.
Oh, speaking of clowns. So he passes on these 3 ladies. Mistima calls him a fool, and Paul's response is, you know what they say, there's no fool like an old fool. Which, what does that mean?
I have never heard this before. It was so ridiculous.
What does it even mean in the context of what they're doing?
I don't know. And is this where Mistima lets out this crazy yell?
I think that might be in the next one of these cutaways,
Okay.
but my God, none of this makes any sense. I don't get it. But he does, maybe he does, and he zaps him away to the next one. This one is basically, it seems like he's just like in New York City. So we recently watched Friday the 13th, Part 8, speaking of awful movies. And a lot of that took place, not a lot of that, sorry.
Did you just use the words a lot?
Nope. When they finally made it to Manhattan, a lot of the scenes in Manhattan took place in like garbage-filled alleys.
So about 3 minutes of that movie take place in garbage-filled alleys, as much as this movie did, and it wasn't titled In New York.
That's true. So it's got that going for it. But yeah, he's just in a garbage-filled alley. He finds a newspaper, and the headline says that a slasher is terrorizing the city, and his most recent victim is clearly Gwen. He freaks out. He sees a body buried in some garbage, runs to it. It's not actually Gwen, because it turns out, we hear this from the Mistima talking to him, that's actually tomorrow's headline. She will be killed. Not yet. He has 1 hour to try and save her. And this is, so I'll say this for the movie. At least each sequence is something different. Like, this is essentially, they tried to make almost like 7 mini movies. So this is a race against the clock, trying to catch a killer in an urban setting, which is wildly different from what we just talked about, where he's blasting laser beams at some animated claymation like stone
His really
sculpture.
bad original Star Trek episode.
Yeah. So we're getting a different look here. He's trying to save her. He's going to try and save her, but the cops find him. They want to know why he's dressed like that, and so do I. Why are you dressed like that, man?
They make a weird Gumby joke. I was like,
Yeah, the suit's not green.
they called him Gumby, and I was
not
like,
green, and
what
Gumby
is
doesn't,
happening?
Gumby doesn't even wear it. He doesn't wear pants. He doesn't wear anything. There's no Gumby suit.
Yeah, I mean, most people listening to this won't even know what Gumby is, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's kind of an old reference.
Yeah.
So the cops find this body, arrest him, and as they're transporting him to the police station in the cop car, we see some scenes in like the slasher's apartment. He's putting up press clippings of his own sort of exploits. Later on, we see he's like readying his knife.
Yeah, he's getting ready to kill again, and we know that Gwen's his target.
For sure. The cops have him in the car, Paul in the car. As they're driving along, he sees Gwen standing on the side of the road, tries to yell at her. The cops are like, "What are you yelling about back there? Shut up." So he has to escape. And of course, he escapes because Cal shoots some laser beams that break off the handcuffs. And
He does a sweet roll out of the cop car.
well, first, Cal also unlocks the doors
That's
for him.
true.
Jesus Christ. He doesn't do anything. Whatever. He rolls out of the car. You're right. It's a sweet action hero roll. And then Cal basically does some math to calculate the probable destination of the next murder.
This is awesome. Best computer ever.
So, but this is the part that kills me. Cal is firing off probable whatever, and Cal mentions a vacant lot
Yep.
in an auditorium,
Yes.
and Paul, thinking independently, somehow makes this connection.
Vacant lot, auditorium, dancing.
He knows that Gwen's a dancer?
What does that have to do with the vacant lot in an auditorium?
Oh, I guess he knew that she was probably going to be going to a dance recital.
What does that have to do with a vacant lot and an auditorium? Sure. Vacant lot?
I don't know. I mean, he's just trying to fill in the pieces for Cal so that they can get there when they need to.
This is a bullshit connection.
Because there were not enough leaps in this movie that this is the connection that you're upset
This one really
about.
bothered me for some
you
reason.
were just like, this gets my goat.
So the cops are going to find him. They're right on top of him, but Cal sends the cops away. Cal produces a voice on the radio saying the suspect is heading east, and so they drive away.
Good work, Cal.
And now Paul is running to the dance studio, and he is running for a long time.
Yeah, I think that Cal gives him a 5-minute time limit on the murder. He's like, you got 5 minutes, and it's about 4 minutes to get there. So we have a continuous 4-minute run
He
through the city.
books it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's hauling ass. This is Paul working his ass off to get there and stop this murder.
If he had run 1/10 that fast, he would have caught those little people in about 10 seconds.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, but he wasn't ready for that terrain. It was just a little bit different than that. He's
guess
ready
so.
to run in the streets of New York
Oh
City.
my God. So he finds the dance studio. He sees in the giant dance studio mirror a reflection of the killer attempting to murder Gwen. So he shoots his laser beam off the mirror. It reflects off the mirror and hits the dude.
With all those lasers, they had to have a mirror bounce at some point.
That's true. They are mixing it up at this point, giving you something different.
Yeah,
so
they had to. Right, though, as they save that and they reconnect and they're having a little kiss scene, right as though the killer gets up and is about to slash them, they disappear back into thin air. So that was kind of interesting. We hadn't seen that connection yet.
The cops find the dance studio somehow. It's the same two cops. I don't know how. They come in just as he disappears, and we get a little low-grade comic relief here. One of them's like, "Did you just see what I just saw?" And the guy's like, "No," and he's like, "Me neither."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What?" And the slasher is slashing at the air.
Midair,
God
yeah.
damn it!
And they bust him.
Ah, so stupid.
Good stuff.
So he's passed the 5th test now, so we're almost done. And we get back to the wasteland. Gwen thinks something's up. There has to be more to this contest. Mischievous summons a flame that has the image of a demon inside it. This was actually kind of cool. I'm like, this is kind of cool.
Until a laser shot out of the
he
computer arm
zaps
to
it, and
zap
then it
into
disappears. But then Paul himself gets zapped again by Mischievous and transported to the second last one.
So
What do you got?
what I didn't understand, though, was she says there's got to be more to this.
You never hear it again. Nope.
No,
That's it.
This is, I think she's just supporting my theory.
He's her dad.
Yeah. That's all that she's really
You
saying.
don't think
here.
that she would recognize or notice?
No.
She wouldn't see his face and be like, "That's my dad's
She
face."
was a part of it. Maybe she was a really good actress.
Oh,
And she just wanted to put Paul really through the ringer.
I can't even.
You're not there yet, huh?
the straws you are
right.
grasping at to try and make some sense out of this.
We'll talk about it in a little bit.
So Mischievous zaps him, sends him to the 6th challenge, which I have recorded as Cave World. He hears Gwen's voice from inside a cave. There's a bright glowing light coming out of it. It's a warning from Cal that there's thermonuclear activity, but he goes in because he has to. We see some creatures similar to the ones in the beginning scene that are watching him, and one of them starts throwing crystals at him.
We're back to the badass geologists. These crystals are lasers and explosions.
As soon as they hit something, they explode and shoot laser beams.
This scene, I think now I had said earlier that weird one with the little people and the statue was the worst. This is probably the worst challenge.
This is easily the worst one, and I will explain why very quickly. First of all, he says, "I don't even need a computer for this one," which is untrue, because he tries to throw some rocks at this thing and can't fucking hit it. So then he goes right to the computer. He says this, and 30 seconds he's like, "Cal, help!" And Cal is like, "Okay, we're gonna activate reflection protocol," where I guess they're going to try and throw the crystal, they're going to try and reflect the laser, but then Cal does some more math and figures out that their chances of doing this are 0. So that's not going to work.
No.
So at this point, Paul is on his own, has no plan. Luckily for him, he doesn't need one, because the creature throws one of the crystals, it explodes, the laser hits a rock above the cave and causes a cave in, which lands on the creature. So Paul, who did not need the computer, the only time the computer can't help him, gets fucking blind shit ass lucky, and then this creature turns into a hot lady.
Yeah, it was weird. Like an angel lady. She had wings and like a sexy angel outfit
She
kind of
looked
thing.
kind of like Stevie Nicks.
That would be awesome.
Like peak Stevie Nicks.
Yeah,
it was
I wish
really
it was
strange.
Stevie
I'm like,
Nicks.
what is
Okay.
this? Apparently, she tells Paul that he would have beaten this challenge by just walking out of the cave, but he didn't. So now she's free.
Yeah, she was really appreciative that he saved her, even though that she died in
I don't
this
understand.
cave. I don't know.
She's like, you blew it. You could have just walked out.
So-
and then he's like, oh, I didn't know. I'm sorry. And then she's like, no. It was all for the best. And then she's free and she vanishes. She disappears.
I was hoping he was going to get stuck in this fucking cave. At this point, I was like, he failed the shit out of this test. He walked in when he wasn't supposed to. Like,
But okay, if he, I don't even understand this. If he walks out, nothing happens. That's it. Oh, you passed. Congratulations.
it was at this point I was like, this movie is way longer than 77 minutes. I was really
That's
upset.
true.
I was like, this movie should be over by now. What the
Oh my God.
was this scene?
I don't even understand. Like, why?
That's it. We don't have
If he-
any explanation of what happened here. He should have
This
failed
is
it.
so baffling.
But instead, he gets warped back again.
I don't know, man. I just, this is like the fourth time in my notes I just wrote, what the f? Because I don't know what's happening here.
Yeah. Well, at least there were no scenes to pad it. Like, they didn't show another extra
Well,
scene.
I don't
here.
know, though, because we get a lengthy Mistima monologue right now about how he found a cat when he was like a kid and then covered it in tar and lit it on fire.
This was super fucked up. This is where I wrote what the fuck in my notes.
Yeah.
They try to get really dark and creepy with the like wizard devil creature and have him say how much he enjoys seeing animals die and burn. And then he throws it back on humans, saying that like we're the worst.
Yeah, so he's given this monologue, which to me seems like padding. I guess they need to get it over 70 minutes. And they kind of pan the camera over to Gwen, and she's got this look on her face like, dude, what the f?
Like, Dad, that's too
Yeah.
much, man. Like, I know we're putting him through a trial, but why that?
But you know what, though? To be fair, I mean, he is the devil. So was the devil going to be like, oh, I don't like hurting animals? Like, no, you'd think the devil would want to hurt animals. But yeah, Paul calls him out for being a dick, essentially. And Mistima is like, whatever, dude. God doesn't care about you. He just comes right back at him with like, humans are a blight on existence. Your God is the one who makes you suffer. And then Paul's like, you have no heart and no soul. And then Mistima just like, prepare for the end. He just snaps at him.
This was weird. And then we go into number 7.
Yeah. I've been prepared for the end since we were about 5 minutes into this movie. So I'm thrilled. At this point,
You're
I'm
happy.
thrilled.
You're like, I can
am
count,
thrilled.
and this is number 7.
Great. So we're in a desert world. It's like a airplane graveyard, a bunch of planes just sitting there, broken down in the desert. And Cal lets Paul know that there is military approaching and they are hostile. They pull up in some Mad Max cars, like low budget, like, you know.
Oh, yeah. They were like desert style dune buggies covered in all kinds of weird metal and other things. Ready for a fight for sure. And then out of one of them hops a Jawa from Star Wars.
It's another little person, and he's talking kind of like the Jawas from Star Wars. Maybe it's because they're in the desert.
Is that how people in the desert talk?
No, I mean, maybe he seems like a Jawa just because they're in the desert.
No, but I swear it was the Jawa like dialect or sound for sure.
Maybe. So there's 3 large regular sized guys and 1 little person, and the 3 guys take the wristband with Cal, but Cal is still in laser mode.
Yeah.
So Paul is able to give Cal like compass directions to where these guys are standing, and Cal shoots them all with a laser at the same time.
Yes. So Cal does some wonderful geometry. He gives them their points on the 360-degree axis, and it shoots and hits every single one of them,
Yep.
which is beautiful. He does some beautiful mental mathing and gets his angles perfect. Yeah.
He knows his stuff. But the little person gets away, jumps in a car, and speeds off. And so then we get like a chase scene. But explain this to me. The little person is chasing them along with another car.
Different direction. So the little person went one way and they went the other, and then the little person realizes they've escaped and comes chasing after them.
Except I'm pretty sure the little person drives off before Cal lasers the 3 dudes with the compass directions.
Absolutely. You're right.
So how does he know they've escaped?
How does he know? Maybe they have radios, right? They had figured
Maybe.
out that they had sent out that call. They must have some technology.
You know
to
what?
track where people are going.
There's 2 minutes right there. Put them
We could
talking
have
on
communicated
radios.
that. You needed to see that. Yeah,
Bump this
talking in
runtime
Jawa and putting
something.
it forward. Yeah.
God damn. So
I'm super happy that this movie was 72 minutes.
I am too, believe me. So they're in this chase scene, and Gwen grabs a gun and starts shooting at the little guy. Those are her words. And with her eyes closed, she shoots a laser that blows up his car. Then she also starts shooting the other car. She's at this point had enough of this, and she's just ready to take action. As she's shooting the different car, they're shooting at her. She literally dodges a laser beam. Just dodges it.
This was sweet. She is really turning into a badass here, right? She is shooting at 2 different vehicles, dodging lasers, and she smashes it and like hops back down in the car and it's like, how about that, babe?
Yeah. What a good shot, eh?
And he seems unplussed. Paul's like, whatever. I'm driving this car. That's
well,
all
he's
I
more
gotta do.
confused because suddenly the car is no longer under his control.
Yes.
And we gather that Mistima has taken control of the car and they are heading for a head-on collision with a different car, which they make no effort to bail out. They just keep trying to Paul's still trying to wrench the steering when nothing's happening. And then the cars are heading towards each other. We get the shot of the oncoming car, shot of his car, shot of the oncoming car, shot of his car. And then we get a stopped car.
Yeah.
And the other car gently rolls into it, also comes to a stop, and then there's an explosion. What on earth?
This is definitely one of those diorama things again. They take 2 miniature cars that look like the ones they were driving in, roll them into each other, and then well after they've stopped and hit each other, make some fire explosion in a box. It was horrible.
It's really bad.
Yeah, you and I could have done that for 15 minutes on a Saturday afternoon and had a better explosion.
I believe it. So, but you know what this means, though? He has failed the 7th test.
Yeah.
And they come back to the wasteland, and Mistima tells him the game is over. But Paul kind of calls him out and says, this is bullshit. You cheated. And he's like, yeah, if you were really, all that, you'd face me one-on-one. And Mistima kind of scoffs and is like, you can't beat me. My magic is all powerful. It can do anything. And Paul is like, except cure your boredom. Oh, dip.
Oh, damn. He was really trying to push him into getting into some kind of conflict with him, right? He was really trying to do everything he could to say, let's fight and let's do it without using our powers.
Well, that's the cure for his boredom. The threat of death. That's the ultimate thrill. So man versus man, no magic. And Mistima is down, and we have ourselves a fist fight to close this out. I never in a million years would have guessed the way this was going to end was with a goddamn fist fight.
It was some horrible hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah, it's
Let
not
me
good.
tell you that. You see the big man from Night Court come down and just throw a choke on our friend Paul.
Paul's just choking him out?
Yeah, just choking him out. And there's no way Paul would have got back from this, but somehow gives him a kick and a punch and rolls him down a big hill.
Throws him down a hill, and he jumps on him.
He's sort of putting him over this lava, and Mistima's like, I'm not going to have any of that. And he goes back for that magic.
He cheats. He uses some magic, which causes the ground they're standing on to kind of crumble. It's not really clear. Paul's also going to fall in, I guess. That's the magic.
It seemed like some pretty shit magic to me, right? If this guy is all powerful, all he can do is make the ground underneath him more vulnerable to him falling in. And then we have one of the worst fall in death scenes ever.
Well, it doesn't even make sense. So Paul calls out to Cal for help, and then they're still kind of struggling. Paul is right on top of Mistima. Mistima just falls in, which Paul was on top. Did Paul get off him? If he fell in, Paul should have fallen in.
I don't know. It sort of cuts away, and then you see Mistima launching into that shit.
Yep.
It almost looked as if Paul had picked him up and threw him extremely fast.
Yeah.
So I was really confused. And then it got even worse when we see that Cal does what?
Oh my God.
I think this is the Cal scene that you were most angry about in the entire movie.
Cal makes a laser. He makes a solid laser.
Yeah.
It's a solid laser pole that Paul can grab onto and pull himself up.
Saves him from falling into that volcano.
Yep, because you can just grab this solid laser.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Pulls himself up, he frees Gwen, and that zaps them back to Earth, and she says, yes, let's get married.
See, I told you. The entire thing was set up as a test by Gwen and Gwen's father.
You know what? That would make this movie better because at least there would be some sort of...
It makes sense now, right? Why would she come back and be like, ending. Yes, I'm getting married if that wasn't what this was? The whole thing was a test of Paul.
Yeah, but how's she going to get along with the computer? Well, I'll tell you. Because she says, he's like, are you sure? And she's like, yeah, I talked to Cal and the math, the numbers check out or whatever the and that's it. They're getting married. We fade out at the 71-minute mark. And now we've got credits, which are highlights of each world with the director of each segment.
They each needed a special notice about how wonderful their segments were.
I cannot believe that this movie is a thing. I will admit the idea of getting a bunch of different directors to direct different parts. There's some movies that are like that. I think we were talking about this and you said 4 Rooms is like that, right? Where it's like 4 different segments, but those are
Yeah.
unrelated segments.
No,
Trying to
it's
get
true.
7 people to direct one story start to finish, you know what? Didn't work out. Bad idea.
It brought me back to Spookies a little bit, right? A movie we'd seen with 2 directors.
Spookies is so much better than this.
Way better, like just 100 times better. But it made me think of that idea of all those people trying to make one thing work, but all work together to film it. And it just did not. I don't know if it was the overarching story. I don't know if they were missing that little piece where it was clearly a test by Gwen towards Paul. I'm not sure what it was.
God, you're so in on that, eh?
I think that's 100% what it was.
It's a much better theory.
Yeah.
There's no, for the record, there is no evidence that is what's actually going on here.
Watch it for yourselves, okay? And then comment and let us know what you think.
That
because I
is
think
you
that's
trying to infuse meaning. We've done this a lot. You and I have both done this. We try
Yeah.
and infuse meaning into a movie where there is no meaning.
Well, we have to.
This movie has no meaning.
So if it has no meaning, how would you rate this wonderful movie out of...
I already gave you my rating.
Oh, yeah, you gave it how
1 to
bad
10
it
for
was.
how bad
Yeah.
this is. I said at the beginning, and I'm sticking with it now. Reading through my notes and reliving this has only confirmed to me this movie is 10 out of 10 bad. It is f***ing awful. How about you?
It's 10 bad. I'm not...
I knew it. Exactly.
There's no other place I can go. I can't even drag out the suspense because there is none. This movie is a horrible piece of shit.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
So how enjoyable on a scale? Will we have a crit 20?
No. How could I give this a 10 enjoyable? All of the time, all we've done is shit on this movie.
It's really bad.
Because it was so bad, it is kind of funny to watch.
Yeah, that's basically the whole premise of our podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So it isn't. I'm not going to say that you shouldn't watch this. Will I ever watch it again?
No, sir.
we know that. We know that that's the answer, as it is for most of the case of the movies we've watched on this podcast.
Yeah,
but for
man.
an enjoyability scale, I'm going to give it a 5. So this thing gets a
Holy Lord.
15 for me.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just so I'm clear on this,
Yeah.
you giving that a 5
Yeah.
means that you thought it was more enjoyable than Friday the 13th Part 8.
Yes, absolutely.
More enjoyable than Body of Evidence.
Yes.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I don't
It
know.
is, because this one is so out there that it kind of made me like engaged in thinking the entire time. I was
Yeah.
trying to come up for reasons of why it existed.
I
right?
get that. I will say the fact that it is so strange. Like, you at one point asked me when it was made, and your theory was that it was made sometime in the 1960s. So the fact that it is that like out of place or out of time, it's of its own universe where you can't even put it. Like, you were like,
I was asking
over 10 years.
I was
removed
asking
from when
if
it
that
was.
one scene was that one
Oh, okay.
section directed that looked like the old original Star Trek film, right? Because
Yeah.
that one seemed like it was out of the 60s.
Well,
and it was
shit,
strange.
man! It must have been an homage then, with this genius team working with on all these subliminal
It had
levels.
to
It must
be.
have been.
It had to
God.
be.
So yeah, I mean, it's. I get what you're saying. There's some entertainment value there. For me, I can't say I enjoyed it more than Friday the 13th Part 8. I will say that I enjoyed it as much. I will give this a 4.
So it's a 14 for you.
14 for me.
Nice.
I really enjoyed this beer, the Rage and Love.
Yeah, the Rage and Love Dry Hop Sour by Reinhard.
I had sort of committed to the idea of I'm not going to drink any more regular like dry hop sours. I'm only going to do fruited sours.
Yeah.
This kind of makes me rethink that because it was really refreshing. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I really enjoy when you dry hop a sour too. I think that sort of goes more in the IPA range rather than the traditional sour range. And I know that sort of pushes away for you, but sort of brings it in for me. Although I enjoy a traditional sour as well.
No, this is a good version. I would definitely buy this again.
Yeah, so try the Rage and Love by Reinhard.
Actually, they do different flavors. They do fruited versions of this. Rage and Love is kind of their overarching sour
Base?
like range. This is just
cool.
this is kind of the base model, but they do occasional fruit releases. Check it out.
Sweet.
That'll do it. Thank God we're done with this movie. Next week, we got something special coming up. It is going to be our first musical.
Oh.
We're going to be watching a little film called Can't Stop the Music. Are you familiar with this?
No. Well, sorry, the title seems super familiar, but I'm not drawing any sort of connections to who's in it or what's it about.
We're going to be watching a movie starring the Village People. That's right.
Wonderful.
The musical movie masterpiece of the 80s is about disco.
I love it. I'm excited.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And if you have movie suggestions or suggestions for beers that you think we should drink, please send us an email at thebmbpodcast@gmail.com.
At the BMB Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. And thank you very much for listening. I'm Cooper,
And I'm Nolan.
and we'll see you next time on Bad Movies and Beer.
Keep it ragey.
is the overlord of strange beasts and stolen souls.